Welcome back to the Loose Nut Printing channel. In this video, as you guys can see, we're designing and 3D printing a bumper for the 6 project. So let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to be doing for this monster is doing up a template, or actually a jig, to make sure that what we're working with in CAD is what we're working with in the real world. So we're just going to take a couple of points off of the frame that we have in our CAD file here. And what we're going to do here is we're going to see how close how close we are to the servo, and to make sure that the outside of our design is going to slip over the frame itself. One thing I didn't show in CAD, I decided to do it afterwards, was add these two little pieces you'll see right here to test if the inside of the frame was at the right spot. And it looks like we're pretty good. So knowing that our CAD design on the computer is good, we can now start doing our design for the bumper itself. So this is just something I'm literally cooking off the top of my head as I'm going along doing this. So there's going to be a few things here I'm going to just stop and erase it because I didn't like the look of it, and continue again. And that's how a lot of the visual parts for this truck are going to be designed, is off of how do they look scaled to the body itself. And you're going to need measurements, obviously, that's a big thing too. But the bumper, just rough designing it, seeing what I liked and what looked good. I knew that I wanted the bumper as wide as the cab, and that's what I'm doing here, is making sure that the bumper has the width of the cab, and the height of the bumper is no more than the frame is thick. If I went thicker than the frame on the lower side of the frame, then that would cause hang-ups and hookups once I go over rocks. Can't go above the frame due to the fact I want to add a winch to the bumper, and if I go above, that will impede the body from pivoting. So there's a few variables that we got to work around here, and those variables obviously dictate how this bumper design is going to be done, and then purely visual looks too. So here I know I want a bit of an edge. Having it just straight slope didn't look great, so bit of a bordering edge looks really good. I might come back later, make it thicker. It's one of those ones, the truck's still in a prototyping stage, so nothing is truly concreted down just yet with this truck. And then so now with the rough design of the bumper done, we can take I took a second here and I just sat off camera and stared at it and was happy, and so I continued on with changes. I wanted to make it a little thicker to be able to block the bottom of the frame so the frame didn't get caught. Alright, and I didn't want the bumper too long, like I said, so then it didn't cause a hang up. Now we're going to add in the mounting points for the bumper to the frame, and I'm going to use same thing I used for the simulated battery boxes, and that's going to be just brass heat inserts. Great little things for 3D printing. Add M3 threads anywhere you want, just have to have the right size of hole. So I'm going to add that into the bumper. I'm just going to do this one on this side on camera, and then the other side I'll just repeat it again in the same spot. And all the measurements are numbers for the heat inserts and everything are permanently stored inside my coconut. So now what you're seeing me do here is I'm extending the bumper back so then the bumper will actually meet up with the front fenders of the body. And it also gives a second bonus of rigidity and strengthening the bumper. Because now if I left it the way I did and pressed up against something with the front of the bumper, just nothing behind it to press up against, it would probably break off. But now, since it actually has the metal frame to push up against, it will have a lot more rigidity. Everything. So that was one of those ones I'm glad I thought of it when I did. And here's again, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, a lot of the drawing of this bumper is off the top of my head. So if all of a sudden I'm doing something and it's like, nah, I don't really care for that shape, I'm gonna reshape it. Did that quite a bit. And what I'm doing here now is adding a pocket, a relief pocket, for being able to get the screw in, but also get the heat insert in with the soldering iron. I still did melt the bumper a little bit. Now you're seeing me put on the winch location bracket, or jig, or bracket, whatever you want to call it. That I didn't get on camera. I pulled a full fool move on that one. Thought I was recording, but I wasn't. And luckily I didn't, in a way, because that took close to a day to get the holes actually aligned up. That winch is such a pain in the butt with it having the holes on offset. And actually I kind of still messed up a bit. With this, the winch I'm using is a Traxxas winch. The winch mount holes are offset. I tried to actually use the full winch to center it on the bumper. What I should have done was actually use the front two holes, because the two front holes are matched up to the fairlead. Yeah, so right now the bumper, once you see it, is actually offset on the bumper on one side. Thankfully this is right now a prototype, so the bumper probably will get it changed again. So what you see me there was just countersinking the holes for the winch, and now we're just going to plop it into our slicer. And unfortunately it's a little bit wider than my small printer's bed. Too bad the Voron Legacy isn't up and running, but parts have to be purchased for that. So the little printer will have to do. And I'm just checking different infills and settings, and what I inevitably landed on was, I went a little overboard, I know that with this. I went with 8 walls, 5 bottom layers, 8 top layers, and a density of 3 mil for infill at 0.2 in Cura. So this bumper should hopefully take some abuse from my rough driving. I've already experimented with this bumper. I've physically picked the whole truck up by the 2 leading edges of the bumper and hang the whole truck off with the weight of the truck with the bumper, and the bumper didn't flex or anything. So if it didn't flex with the weight of the 7-pound truck, good thing. There's hope. So here's hoping on the trail runs I don't break it, but the prototyping phase is what this is for. And as you see, this bad boy is printing out, and while I was trying to do this episode, this is another reason why there's not too much content this week. I was having a heck of an issue with my Milton Beagle cam not wanting to work and throwing thermal errors. Don't know what's going on with that. But this is the first bumper I got off of the printer. Some reason the one corner lifted after I left the printer alone, and so I had to reprint it again. Only reason I had to reprint, I would have left the first one with the messed up corner, but I put the holes for the winch backwards. So that just made me need to redo the bumper or reprint the bumper because of that. make you guys watch me readjust the holes for that, so not that cruel. Now moving on, we're going to need jigs to be able to line up the holes for the bumper onto the frame. So like any of my other little like the other jigs I've done, I'll just simply make little jigs that will slip onto the frame, cap over the frame. And for these ones, I was thinking, since I wanted to, or was needing 2 holes on each side of the frame, I was going to bolt both of the brackets together. But then thinking about it after getting everything printed out, if I wanted to go that route of bolting the 2 brackets together, or the jigs together, I should have made the cross mount thicker and the face of the jigs thicker, so then there wouldn't be any deflection in it. So, small learning curve. Like every mistake I make with this project is another learning point, and that's just half the fun of it. So now knowing that, next time I want to tie 2 jigs together, make the crossbar a little thicker and the face of the point of mounting thicker. But with now the jigs done, we can actually plop them onto the frame and actually get the holes drilled for this bumper. So with the first one on and for surely pushed into place, I grabbed the second one, put it on. Now with those in their home, I cross my fingers and pray to Jeebus that this is going to go. And then you seen that cross brace there and how thin it was, so I just used the battery just to make sure it was good. Pressed it on and just went to town, because at this point in time, if I messed this up, then darn, time to start with a new frame once the whole project was finished. I'm not that silly in wasting good materials. If one small thing messes up, no reason to scrap the whole project, or prototype I should say. There's the bumper with its winch. I didn't get the winch showing on camera. Figured it wasn't really worth showing due to the fact it's not too special. 4 screws and that's about it. Testing the bumper to make sure that everything lines up, and looking down the holes that I just drilled, looks like we got alignment. Now here's the cringe part. Getting these heat inserts in. Oh, wait for it. Yep, too much pressure. And I couldn't get the soldering iron in there at a good angle, so I'm going to have to, another thing to redesign is just how that bumper relief is. But now with the brass inserts in, we can get the screws put in and give this bad boy a little bit of a test run. But there we go, guys. The bumper's mounted and been tested. Works not bad, but that's it for this week. Unfortunately, I didn't get more, but thanks for watching. Have a good one, and see you again.